as today is Donald Trump's 78th birthday. Happy birthday to him. Emily, to you, tell us about what he is thinking about taxes.
Well, Tyler, if Trump wins the White House, and honestly, even if he doesn't, key parts of his 2017 tax law are set to expire next year. And Trump has said he wants to extend those cuts and to make them permanent. But he also has some other ideas on ways to raise revenue. At a meeting with House Republicans yesterday, he pitched an all-tariff policy and suggested that it could lead to getting rid of the income tax. Now, let's be clear, a number of economists and tax policy experts were very quick to point out that such a policy would not only shift the tax burden to middle and low income earners, but it would be pretty difficult to implement. Erica York, a senior economist with the Tax Foundation, tweeted that the government raises about $2 trillion annually from personal taxes. Tariffs raise about $80 billion, but then just look at this larger base. All imports total are about $3.4 trillion. That's not that much higher than the tax revenue we get from income tax. And imports, of course, are a much smaller pool than personal income. So it'd be very, very difficult to have tariffs just make up everything we are getting from the income tax. And lawmakers I spoke with said, look, our takeaway is that Trump wants to increase tariffs. He wants to look at decreasing personal taxes, that they kind of don't see this as a sort of a thing that will happen, but a guide to what they might be able to achieve. Trump is also looking at some more corporate cuts. Trump told CEOs yesterday at Business Roundtable that he wants to lower the corporate tax rate again slightly to 20%. It's currently at 21%. Of course, a lot of what Republicans want, they're only going to be able to get done if they take the House and the Senate and the White House this November. And guys, that could potentially happen, but if they don't, they're going to have to really limit some of their ambitions and find the things that can get done in a bipartisan manner.
Yeah, relying on tariffs to fund a X-trillion-dollar government seems a little bit impractical, though it was the way we funded the government back in the days of Jefferson and Washington and so forth. Another thought on taxes would be to take away all of the various distinctions about how different types of income are taxed. In other words, capital gains, carried interest, dividends, interest. Some of them are subject to lower rates, some to higher rates. If you tax them all at the same rate, you probably would end up having a lower overall tax rate, wouldn't you, Emily?
That could certainly be the case. I mean, the other thing, of course, that lawmakers are trying to get at, taxes are about incentives. They're about trying to incentivize people to do things or not do things or invest in certain ways or grow certain things. And so I think when you take a look at what lawmakers are trying to figure out here, that's certainly playing into it. You also can't ignore that we are really in campaign season right now. Just the other week, Trump went to Nevada and he rolled out a pitch on not taxing any sort of income and revenue that people might get from tips. And that's very strategic. Nevada is on the map as a swing state for Trump, but also for the Senate. They've got a key Senate race there. If Sam Brown can wind up, the Republican can wind up taking that seat, it could actually flip the Senate into Republican control. And so that particular policy about not taxing tipped wages, it's something they hope appeals to blue collar workers and maybe makes a difference in a state like Nevada.
So I just want to ask folks on the crew here, if we went to tips, would you guys tip me at the end of every show? So I could avoid. I'm getting a no here.
And how much would they tip?
I'm getting a no that they will not tip me.
We could have a little Venmo at the bottom of the box.
Yeah,
if
send
you like
Venmo
this report,
tips to Tyler Matheson. Yeah, it'll work. It works for me.
Tip jar.
Lower tax rate. Tip jar right here on the Power Lunch desk. Emily, thanks.